Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to Nebcam Gaming. I'm Jim the Cynic. This is a re-upload from my channel, but it's going on this one as well, just to spread a bit of awareness of both of our channels. If you would consider clicking subscribe, that would be amazing. Alright, take care everyone. Hey, well, okay, I don't even know how to do this anymore. It's been that long. First off, hello. It has been about 3 months since my last upload. I took an extended break. Well, another extended break, because I've explained this 100 times over and over again, so I'm not gonna like plagiarize you or whatever the word is for that. I'm just gonna get right into this Ratchet and Clank tier list, which I said I was gonna do ahead of my Rift Apart video, which is currently being edited. But yeah, long story short, motivational problems and everything like that, the usual stuff that I deal with. Took a long break, and I think I needed it because I figured out exactly what I want to do. I'm back and I'm feeling refreshed and ready to go at this again. Like, I'm generally excited to rebrand to Jim the Cynic, by the way. That's the channel name now. And yeah, just have a great time. So what I'm going to do is go through this tier list right here of Ratchet and Clank games. Now, I've replayed every single one, except for the PSP games. Like, I really just couldn't be bothered to go through the hassle of those. All the spin-offs, I just went through what was in the canon, and I did the remake as well. So anyway, let's get right into this. I mean, I've been replaying all of these, and most of them are as good as I remember. Some not so much. And yeah, but Rift Apart, ever since playing that, it's just been an absolute blast. Like, I've really enjoyed playing that game. And yeah, so I can't wait to talk about that in my review. Without further ado, let's get on with this tier list. So let's start from the very beginning with the first Ratchet and Clank game. Now, to me, this game is aged a little bit. Like, when you play it, you can feel the difference in mechanics. You can feel the difference in atmosphere and dialogue and all sorts of stuff like that. What the hell's happened here? Where's my tier list gone? Oh, okay. Anyway, so you can feel the difference in atmosphere and the difference in the way Ratchet controls and everything like that. Because without the inability to strafe in the first game, it makes hitting enemies so much more difficult, because you have to sort of stop and aim your weapon in a specific direction and then shoot. And it can be kind of awkward. Like, number 2 fixed this with the strafe mechanic, and but I just have so many fond memories of the first one, especially with its score. Like, I think out of all the Ratchet and Clank games that I have played ever, the first game score definitely sits in your head. There are some absolute bangers, some amazing beats. It gives you that space sci-fi aesthetic. And yeah, so the first game, I think, although it has aged just a little bit, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's not even alright. Would I put it at great? Probably from an experience standpoint, yes, but if I'm counting it as like a game standpoint, like, do I still enjoy playing this as much as the others? No, not really. Ratchet has a different voice actor as well. Like, it's so weird going back to it now, because you know that James Arnold Taylor is Ratchet. Like, he's played Ratchet for that long now, so it's a bit weird to hear like Mikey Kelly's voice in the first one. But still, overall, the game is still pretty good to today's standards. Like, I still revisit this game. Like, I never skip it when I go through the franchise. Like, usually there are some games on like lists where I skip a specific game in the genre, like the first game, for example. Like, whenever I replay Assassin's Creed, I always skip the first one. Like, that's just a bit dated, a bit repetitive. Though the same could be said about Ratchet and Clank, really. Like, that can be a little dated too. But there's still something about it which has stuck with me all these years. And I think, overall, it's just a great game. Like, I do think the game is still very, very solid to today's standards. But obviously, when you compare it mechanically to the later titles, the controls are a bit awkward. Like, Ratchet's movements don't feel as fluid and as smooth. The weapons aren't as fun to use. But I do like the designs of some of the weapons. Like, they kind of look like toy guns that you would find in a shop. Obviously, over the years, the weapon design has got a little bit better. And I think another thing about this as well is what a lot of people didn't like about the first game is that the character conflict between Ratchet and Clank in the middle half of the game. Because if you remember, Captain Quark led Ratchet and Clank into a trap for the Snaggle Beast, for the Snaggle Beast to have them for dinner. And Ratchet got pissed at Clank and everything like that, and people said that Ratchet was an unbearable dick. He was a dick. I wouldn't say he was unbearable. I would say this is character growth, because Ratchet is only young in this. He's just doing this hero stuff for the first ever time, and he's still discovering what it is about him that makes him special. And I generally enjoyed the conflict. I didn't think Ratchet was unbearable. I thought he had a generally good reason to be pissed off. I think I would as well. And the conflict that they had in that first game, I don't think any argument Ratchet and Clank have had since has even topped that. Like, this is good character tension, if you ask me. Good character drama, good character conflict that was resolved in the end, which is all that matters to me. So I'm going to put Ratchet and Clank, the first one, at good. It's so weird to be doing this again. Like, I think this is the most I've spoken in front of anything other than a person in ages. So what we got now? Where's Ratchet and Clank 2? Ratchet and Clank 2, titled Going Commando in the US, it pretty much fixed anything involving the problems with the first one mechanically and story-wise, as people put it. Like, James Arnold Taylor is now Ratchet, and he's been Ratchet ever since. And I think that fans will come to know Ratchet as James Arnold Taylor now. Look, it's a bit of a shift in character. Like, he doesn't seem to be anything like he was in the first game, which some people take issue with, but since I'm that used to Ratchet being James Arnold Taylor now, being the way he is in this game, it kind of doesn't faze me all that much. Like, I'm pretty much, it's like, oh, okay, it's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with it. And they brought the strafe mechanic into this game, and it's so much easier to maneuver around your enemies and shoot. And the bolt count, for one. The bolt count in the first game was just, God, it was stressful. Excuse me. For example, I've still got a bit of a cough. For example, if you play the first game, right, and you see the Rhino on planet Rilgar and you want to buy the Rhino, it costs 150,000 bolts. Now, 150,000 bolts is a lot compared to the first game standards. Obviously, when you play the sequels, 150,000 doesn't give you the most powerful weapon in the game, but back then it did. So the bolt count in the second game is so much more better, because if you play the first game, one bolt counts as one bolt. But for example, you could play this game, and there are certain types of bolts that one bolt could be worth 10, another one could be 100. It's just stuff like that, and so it's easier to get more bolts to pay for your weapons and stuff like that. From a story standpoint, I don't think it's as good as the first one, from a story perspective, because this is mainly just about Captain Quark trying to fight his way back into the limelight and be famous again, which is all the character was known for, really. I mean, pretty much Captain Quark's arc was finished in the first 3 games, but then the franchise kept him around for some reason, which didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But overall, I think Ratchet and Clank 2, when I go back to this game, it's when I really start enjoying myself, is when I really, really get sucked in and just want to play more and more and more of it and introduce new things, such as going around big open world areas to try and, well, I wouldn't say big, but big to what that game was at the time, going around these little open world areas and trying to find crystals and moonstones for bolts. Ship levels were much more improved from the first game, and you got hover bike races instead of hoverboard races. It's just a bunch of stuff that they threw into this, which is different, that really spices up the gameplay a little bit. And obviously there's the upgrade system with the weapons and your health as well, which is, thank God, because in the first game, even if you buy the premium nanotech, it only gives you like 8 health bars, or 8 hit points, sorry. But in this game, you can keep leveling up and leveling up and leveling up with the more enemies that you defeat. And what I find so cool about this feature is that when you're killing enemies, and then your nanotech upgrades, it sends out like a big burst of shockwave energy, and it just blows up anything that's around you. It's really fucking cool. So this is going to go down in history as the game that I've replayed more than the first one. So I think Ratchet and Clank 2 is great. It's a great game. Obviously, as you can tell, I haven't put anything at Masterpiece, because I don't think any of them are masterpieces per se, but definitely fun platform games. And the second one, it's just really, really good. I really enjoy the second one. Ratchet and Clank 3. It's so weird, like, the title changes in some countries, because in this country, it's called Ratchet and Clank 3. In the US, it's called Up Your Arsenal. And it's so weird, like, Up Your Arsenal, like, what's not to understand about that? Like, I understand what that means. Arsenal basically means an arsenal of weapons, right? And the weapon, and it's up yours, you know, like, I'm going to blow the living shit out of you. Like, that makes sense to me, that title. Going Commando, on the other hand, I mean, I'm pretty sure Going Commando means you're not wearing underwear. At least it does, like, where I'm from anyway. I'm not sure if anywhere else in the world has that same thing. I don't know, let me know. But yeah, Ratchet and Clank 3, I think that was actually one of my favourites for a very, very long time. I think that it didn't change much from the second one. It pretty much had the same engine as the first one. Second one, sorry. With the upgradable systems, the weapon upgrades and everything like that. But this time, the weapons don't just upgrade once, but they can upgrade like 5 times, which I thought was a really, really cool feature, because instead of like, because in the second game, you could go to Slim Cognito and you could buy like mods with platinum bolts for your weapons. And that was a really cool feature. Like, I always liked buying the shock mod for whatever weapon that I had, because, you know, just electrocuting enemies at the same time is just, it's really cool. This game, however, sort of changes the mods of the weapon as it upgrades automatically to save you paying gold bolts, or in Ratchet and Clank 2's thing, it's called platinum bolts. But yeah, like, now you don't have to pay gold bolts to upgrade your weapons. They're used for like costumes and stuff instead. And the mods basically change as you upgrade your weapons. And I thought that was a really cool feature, because you can feel the gun getting more and more powerful the more you upgrade it. But then when it gets to level 5, it doesn't feel like the weapons are obsolete. Like, for example, in the second game, you start off with 2 weapons, the Lancer and the Gravity Bomb, right? You upgrade them to the Heavy Lancer and the Mini Nuke. Now, both those weapons, in particular the Lancer, especially the Lancer, it feels like a piece of crap compared to what you'll get later on in the game, because later on in Ratchet 2, you'll get stuff like the Bouncer and the Plasma Coil, and they're just so much more powerful, you won't even feel a need to use the Lancer anymore. Ratchet and Clank 3 doesn't do that. It still makes the old weapons feel just as powerful in some aspects, but it doesn't... You can definitely tell there's a decrease in power, but it doesn't make it feel like it's obsolete either. So, for example, the pistol weapon that you get in Ratchet and Clank 3 is called the N60 Storm. You can upgrade it to the N90 Hurricane. Now, the N90 Hurricane doesn't feel less powerful, and... Sorry, it doesn't feel like complete shit, even if you get stronger weapons further on in the game, if that makes sense. So that's what I really like about this game. Like, your weapons still feel like there's a purpose in them, like you could still use them for something. And Dr. Nefarious as well, obviously, makes his first appearance in this game, and the dude is just hilarious. I love Dr. Nefarious. I mean, I think pretty much at this point in the franchise, people have made him a complete joke. Like, well, sorry, Insomniac have made him pretty much a joke. Like, he gets his arse handed to him pretty easily. When there was always this striking, menacing thing about him in the first one. Ratchet and Clank 3, there was a striking menace about him in Ratchet and Clank 3, which is not really there as much in the later games. So, Jesus Christ, it really has been a long time, hasn't it? Because I really can't talk. Don't drink that shit, it's bad for you. Ratchet and Clank 3, I'm definitely going to put it at great. I think it's... I think overall I return to the third one a little more than I do the second. But they're kind of on par with each other. It's really difficult. Unless I actually like sit down and really think about what I want to do and rank these games, which I may do one day. But I've got a lot of stuff scheduled at the moment, which I really want to get round to. So that's not going to be for a long time yet. I might have to replay the games again in future to actually come up with an opinion like that. This is just a tier list. Like, I'm pretty much just sticking the games in front of me and thinking, this is what I'm going to do. So anyway, let's move on to the fourth game, Ratchet Gladiator, titled Ratchet Deadlocked in the US. Another title change, which is interesting. The name Ratchet Deadlocked just sounds cooler to me than it does Gladiator, even though it is about gladiators. I don't know, both titles are pretty cool, actually. I don't know, what about Ratchet Deadlocked Gladiator? No. Anyway, this was a bit of a ballsy move on Insomniac's part, because they basically removed Clank from the title. I mean, Clank's in the game, but he serves more of a mentor, like a guy behind the scenes, you know, like you see in films where there's like a guy running out into the action, then there's a guy in his earpiece just telling him where to go. Or as Spider-Man Homecoming put it, guy in the chair. That's what Clank is, guy in the chair. And it was a pretty ballsy move on Insomniac's half by removing that aspect. Like, this is very much a game about Ratchet and just Ratchet. Like, without Clank's abilities, you can't like do your helipack moves anymore, like your stretch jump, your glide feature and everything like that. But you are accompanied by two little battle bots called Merc and Green, and they're really cool. The more you upgrade them, the better, because their weapons just become better and everything like that. And it really shows a teamwork aesthetic in it, because these two robots are pretty cool, because they literally can put a shield around you while you're trying to do something. You can revive them, you can get them to kill enemies for you while you're trying to do something else. It's all about teamwork in this game, and it's pretty cool. And I definitely recommend playing it on multiplayer, because me and my mate Ryan play Ratchet Gladiator on multiplayer sometimes, and we generally just enjoy it because it feels more like teamwork. And yeah, so overall, the story, on the other hand, it feels like you're watching a TV show. Now let me explain. Okay, so basically, Dread Zone, which is in Ratchet Gladiator, is a Gladiator TV show. And basically, Gleeman Vox, this power-hungry villain, is like, oh, well, we're going to broadcast this to millions and millions of viewers and everything like that. And basically, it's told through that perspective, if that makes sense. Mainly, the story is told through announcers announcing what game is going to be next, and oh, will Ratchet survive? And there's like news coverage and press conferences and everything like that in the cutscenes of Ratchet's going further and further up in the ranks and everything like that. And so it kind of pushes away from a little bit from the story about the characters and focuses more on the actual show Dread Zone itself. That's not to say that there aren't cutscenes of Ratchet and Clank, there are, but this is kind of like the shortest amount of cutscenes. I believe there's only like 15 to 20 minutes of cutscenes with the two of them in, which is a little weird if you compare the first three, which had like at least an hour to 40 minutes, I think, something like that. But anyway, how's the gameplay? It's awesome. Now, by all means, this isn't the most deep, character-driven story. It doesn't have the most exciting weapons, but it is a lot of fun to play if you just want complete carnage. Like, if you just want to blow shit up, waste your enemies, and just go through different challenges and prove that you're better than everyone else. That's pretty much what Ratchet Gladiator is. Now, I generally enjoy the game whenever I go back to it, but whenever I think of Ratchet and Clank, this isn't the first game that pops into my head, really. What I didn't really like is the armor, like Ratchet's armor. Like, it looks cool when his helmet's off, but when the helmet's on, sure, it looks cool, but I've always been that kind of person that if you're going to take the helmet away from... I mean, if you're going to put a helmet over a character's face, that kind of deprives them of some kind of emotion. Like, yeah, sometimes it works. Like, for example, Darth Vader from Star Wars, I could still tell what the dude was feeling, even with his mask on. But when it comes to Ratchet and video game characters in particular, I always prefer something not covering their face, which is what a lot of these games do, actually. They actually put helmets over his face quite a lot for like later upgradable armors that you can get and stuff like that. But luckily, for Ratchet Gladiator, there is an option on the pause menu where you can remove the helmet and play through the entire game without it, and it won't make the game any less difficult for you, depending on what difficulty you're playing as, and if you're good at the game in general. So I think Ratchet Gladiator, it's good. It's good. I really like this game. Not the best. First three are definitely better, but yeah, I do like this one. Bit of a change, obviously, from standard platforming. It's gone all in on the action in this game. And pretty much, yeah, Ratchet Gladiator is a decent game. So, anyway, next we've got Ratchet and Clank Size Matters. Now, this is actually, this photo anyway, is box art from Ratchet and Clank Size Matters on the PS2. But I couldn't find a high quality version of the PSP version, but it's the PSP version that I played. Now, I'm going to stick this straight at the bottom. I don't think the game is good. Like, I think there's limitations when it comes to games on a handheld system than it does on an actual big screen. I mean, obviously, I'm not too sure on the Nintendo Switch, because I think the Switch maybe fixed a couple of these issues, but when it comes to the PSP anyway, there were 2 back buttons removed. I mean, for example, like, if I just get my PS5 controller for a second. For example, back buttons like this were missing on the PSP. And so it was like a bit awkward to move him around and stuff like that, and a bit awkward to do a lot of things in it, actually. Now, one of the main issues I have with this game is how expensive the fucking weapons are. Like, it's ridiculously expensive. And I don't mean like Ratchet and Clank 1 Rhino expensive. I'm on about you will be grafting and grafting and grafting for a lot of bolts, just trying to get the weapons that you need. The final boss, which is Emperor Otto Destruct, he's basically almost unbeatable unless you have quite a lot of weapons in your arsenal. I mean, I even had the fucking Rhino. I think it was the Rhino 4 or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, the Rhino version of Size Matters it feels like a piece of crap, because I mean, I'm firing all these rocket sets at Otto Destruct, and his health is barely going down, and it's like I died so many times from that guy. I mean, I only won by like pure sheer luck in the end. There is the option now of buying the PDA, which the PDA is basically something that has been a part of the franchise since the first game. It's been a part of the franchise since the first game, and you basically use this PDA to refill your ammo wherever you are. You don't have to go to a weapons vendor or anything like that. You can just refill your ammo on the spot. So it's really, really useful when you have the bolts. But the bolt system in Size Matters, it fucking sucks, especially for the standard of the weapons. The weapons don't feel good to use. They don't feel powerful. The costume features are pretty interesting, but I'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, I remember when I was facing the final boss in this game, and he basically wiped the floor with me all the time. So whenever I ran out of ammo, I would load up the PDA, buy more ammo, and refill my guns, only to run out again. But since ammo is so expensive, it even costs extra when you buy the PDA. So PDA ammo is more than normal vendor ammo. And I found myself running out of bolts again and again and again, so I'd have to leave the boss battle, go back to the earlier levels, graft for more bolts, and then try again. And it just took so many goddamn tries. And it wasn't like I could just retry the boss over and over again, but because I had no fucking ammo or bolts to even face him, to have any chance of beating him, I had to go back and just graft for more and more bolts, and it's just so annoying and time consuming. And oh my god, it's one of the games that I just can't be bothered to play again, because it's just so awkward and borderline unfair at times. The story, on the other hand, is not very good either. I mean, it's, you know, I can't even be bothered to talk about it anymore. It's just play. It's a play game, like, yeah. But you can play all the Ratchet games, skip this one, and obviously nothing in the story will change. It's just basically that. So anyway, what was next was Secret Agent Clank, the Clank spin-off. That's also bad. Similar issues to Size Matters in terms of the, you know, the limitations on the PSP. They tried to make it a little more of a stealthy sort of game. And so, like, sneaking around corners and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. I mean, if you could do it with Sly Cooper, surely you can do it with Agent Clank as well. What doesn't make sense to me is that Agent Clank is supposed to be a secret agent in this game, right? But here's the issue that I have. Secret Agent Clank is a character on a Holovision TV show in Ratchet and Clank 2, 3. And it's really famous. In fact, the Secret Agent Clank TV show is so famous, even Dr. Nefarious knows about it. So it's like, to me, he can't be secret if everybody knows who he is. So how the hell does that work? And there's like these Ratchet levels where he's in prison because Ratchet got framed, and there's one level where you have to fight thugs in a shower and Ratchet's got a towel around him. And the worst thing imaginable happens is when you're playing this level and Ratchet's towel falls off. And you can see like a blurred censored square covering where his crotch would be. Yeah, the game's just overall not very good. I mean, I'm not going to waste too much time. I'm already 20 minutes into the video. And I'm not even on the Future Saga yet, so moving on. Ratchet and Clank Tools of Destruction, Tools of Destruction is alright. Now, why I'm calling it alright is because, why overall I thought the story was pretty good. I mean, it dives a little deeper into our characters, into where Ratchet's family are, into Clank and the Zony and everything like that. But there's something, it just, again, it feels awkward to play. Fun, but awkward. Ratchet's movements feel a bit slower, and I think it's because this ran on a different sort of engine. I'm not really sure. It's not like they used game code from the first couple of games and then revamped it into this one. It's like different code entirely, as far as I know. And so, Ratchet's movements feel a lot slower. The weapons are cool looking, interesting to use, but they don't feel powerful. It's like, I can't tell you the amount of times that I ran out of ammo. Like, same issue with size matters, just not on the same scale. Like, there's always enough bolts to refill your ammo and everything like that. But the weapons just run out very, very quickly, and they don't feel powerful to use. This is the first game that introduced, like, the feature of rare titanium to upgrade your weapons as well, which is obviously pretty cool. Obviously, in the first couple of games, it was all like gold bolts and mods and stuff like that. But this one, you use rare titanium, which isn't so rare anymore in the franchise, if you ask me. Like, I've collected a shit ton of rare titanium, so it's not rare at all. It's like common titanium. Anyway, okay. Is it bad that you laugh at your own jokes sometimes? So anyway, when I was facing the final boss in this game, it was just really hard. Now, the only reason I found it hard because, I mean, one slight attack, like, even if you have the most powerful armor in the game, you could still, the main boss, Emperor Tachyon, could still drain your health in a matter of seconds. Just a couple of hits and then bang, you're dead. So it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. So I found myself even struggling with this, right? Even though I had the Rhino. I had the Rhino 4, and I had it upgraded to like level 3 just to make sure it was powerful enough to take him on. Without that thing, I don't think I would have beaten him. Like, every time I've attempted Emperor Tachyon without the Rhino 4, I've beaten him once. Once. Because it's not worth the stress just to try and beat him without it. Unless you really, 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 really like pain, which is what I don't. I don't like pain. Pain is not my friend. It is not my friend. I don't like pain. It hurts and it makes me sad. So, overall, Ratchet and Clank Tools of Destruction, I'm going to put it at alright. It's very, very playable. Very, very good in terms of story aspects, and obviously the graphics have really, really improved since the PS2 titles and the PSP titles. But overall, it's a very underwhelming sort of game in the end. But it's still something which I won't skip in the franchise. I will always go back to this and play it, because it does have a couple of cool weapons. I mean, I'm diving into this too much, and I'm like stretching out this video longer than I planned to, so I'm going to move on. Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty, I'm going to say it's mediocre. It's not quite alright, it's just, it's fine. Basically, Quest for Booty is a short side game before the events of A Crack in Time, where Ratchet is looking for Clank, because at the end of Tools of Destruction, Clank is abducted by the Zony, and Ratchet and Talwyn are looking. Talwyn's this character right here, if you can see. I'm hovering my mouse cursor over it. Ratchet is basically looking for Clank, and most of it is based in a couple of locations. There's an island, there's some pirate caves, and then there's obviously jumping from ship to ship to try and stop the pirates. Now, I will admit that one of the strongest aspects of Ratchet and Clank Tools of Destruction were the pirates. I thought the pirates were really, really cool. Captain Slag and Rusty Pete, I thought they were actually more interesting than Emperor Tachyon himself, which is a bit weird. So this pretty much focuses entirely on that. And but I think it's length and the mediocrity, is that even a word, of this game itself. It's just, really, the only thing that you're really getting out of it is a cutscene at the very end where it shows that Dr. Nefarious is the one holding Clank. And it's like, so you don't really have to play any of this game at all. All you really need to do is watch the last cutscene and then move on to A Crack in Time. And now story arcs will be ruined. To the best of my knowledge anyway. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, obviously. Like, I'm always open to hearing that stuff. If I'm wrong, please tell me. Anyway, Ratchet and Clank A Crack in Time. This game is great. What I think is so good about it is that it really dives into the emotional beats that the franchise knows that it always had. I mean, Clank is having to make a decision on whether he wants to stay with Ratchet or discover who his family are. And Clank finds his family. His family is Orvis, who's actually like a guardian of the Great Clock. And the Great Clock is this massive sort of space station thing that keeps time. It can't alter it, it can only keep it. And so, basically, Clank was actually created not in a warehouse on Planet Core 2, like in the first game, but on the Great Clock itself. And so it's like, yeah, like, he has to make the decision now on whether he wants to continue his father's legacy or stay with Ratchet until Ratchet finds a sense and a purpose in life, which is what he decides to do at the end, and that's actually really, really sweet. And I think two of the best time travel stories that I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Time travel is a really, really complex thing, and it's very, very easy to mess it up sometimes, especially in a lot of films. Like, I mean, if you just watch the fucking Flash now, the CW Flash, you'll see just how messed up the entire thing is and that nothing makes sense in it anymore. Or you've got, obviously, the X-Men timeline, or the Terminator timeline. But I think two of the best time travel stories that I've ever seen are Back to the Future and A Crack in Time. They, I think, touch time travel perfection. I mean, I know Back to the Future is pretty basic time travel stuff, but it worked for what it was back then. Obviously, the sequels, still really good films. But anyway, I'm not talking about Back to the Future here, am I? I'm rambling on here. But what I'm saying is A Crack in Time handles its time travel elements well. It doesn't necessarily go to the fact of, oh, we have to go back to this time to stop this. I mean, you can do that as well. But it's not the main focus. The main focus is to... Our characters are led to believe that the clock can do certain things, but it actually can't. And so, it's about stopping the bad guys and keeping time in place because they want to use it for their own dastardly deeds. Dr. Nefarious is back, and he's great as always. I mean, I've always liked the character, as I stated earlier. Weapons feel really good to use. I mean, this time you get like 3 different special weapons which you can upgrade with constructile mods. Now, I wish the constructile mods were on every single weapon and not just the shotgun, the bomb glove looking one, and obviously the pistol. But yeah, overall, A Crack in Time, I think it may be my favourite in the franchise. I'm still struggling at the moment because Rift Apart was so good, Ratchet and Clank 3 is so good, Ratchet 2 is so good, it's just so difficult to pick. But yeah, I think definitely A Crack in Time fits it great. It's one of the best Ratchet and Clank games ever. Ever. And one of the best time travel stories ever. Period. My opinion, obviously. Right, I'm going to go through these next couple as fast as I can because it's like 30 minutes into the video and I don't want to bore you guys. If you're still here, I really appreciate that. So anyway, fuck's sake, stop doing that. Anyway, so next up on the list is Ratchet and Clank All for One. This game's bad. Now, the game is okay if you're playing with a friend because the game was all built around multiplayer. Now, I think Insomniac made a promise to executives years and years ago that they were going to use like a multiplayer format in one of the Ratchet games. I think it was 3 or something like that. Or no, Tools of Destruction, sorry, and they never did. So Insomniac were like, ugh. And so they finally made one. And it has no relevance to the story. Nothing whatsoever. The only interesting thing about it is that you can play as Ratchet, or Clank, or Quark, or Dr. Nefarious. You've got 4 additional characters to play as, and they all pretty much feature the same thing. You know, they have like their melee attacks, they have the same sort of weapons, but the weapons just feel really, really annoying to use because it's like... you can't just blast your way through stuff anymore, like you have to... lock your weapons together. Like if you're playing with a friend or the NPCs on your team, you'll be shooting bullets at the same target at once, and then there's this meter that builds up, and when the meter hits like full, then the enemy blows up, and it's just like, oh, for God's sake, can't you just blow up? And it just doesn't feel satisfying to use. I mean, I'm not saying that every weapon needs to be overly powerful and stuff like that, but it's pretty much like that. Like, it just feels really, really boring. I mean, the games are boring. The level design is not interesting to look at. It's just a really bland game. But if you play with if you play with a friend or a couple of friends, you could find enjoyment out of it there. But playing it on your own, it's just boring. And I think I've gone through the game once on my own, and it was just really, really underwhelming. Ratchet and Clank Q-Force is also bad. Okay, so Q-Force, I'll admit, this is the only Ratchet and Clank game that I've never, ever completed. Now, I think it's because I just didn't like it. It's basically the same structure as, All for One here, only this time it's like base defenses, so you've got to like defend your base from enemies and overtake someone else's base. Again, that can be interesting with a friend. I'm not even sure if it's multiplayer or not. I literally played like the first 2 missions, and I just wasn't into it whatsoever, and I was really disappointed because my mum paid money for this for Christmas, one of the years, and I felt really bad. So there's not much I can say about it because it's just there. Like, it's these 2 in particular are just really, really forgettable Ratchet titles. So anyway, moving on. This is actually a mobile game, Ratchet and Clank before the Nexus. It's alright. Like, I'm not the biggest mobile gamer in the world, but I think that playing this game, you can get enjoyment out of it if you're just like, if you're on like a long train journey, a long coach journey, you're on your way to work or something like that, you're on your way to London for the day, and it's going to take hours to get there. You can just pop this on, and it's basically a little like Sonic Dash, which is like the character runs directly, a bit like Temple Run. Obviously, everyone's played Temple Run at this point, and then you can like swipe left or right to jump onto different grind rails and stuff like that. It's quite fun to use, but it's not something that I find myself going back to much. Oh, I just kicked my cat. Sorry. I'm sorry. I hope he's okay. Yeah, he's basically sitting under my legs. That's why I'm kicking him. He's fast asleep anyway. Anyway, so yeah, it's alright for that aspect, but obviously, again, you don't really have to play this to understand the next one. Ratchet and Clank Into the Nexus, titled simply Nexus in the UK, is also alright. Now, I think my main issue with this game is its length, because it's like, you'll play it, you'll get it. Imagine, right, it's Christmas Day, you get this game, you open it up, you play it, and then you beat it that very same day. It's like, is that it? Is that it? That's basically the feeling I had of this, because it's just so short. Like, everything to like about a Ratchet game is there, mechanically, weapons and everything like that. It's all there. There's an interesting kind of story, but it's not stretched out long enough. The game is nowhere near long enough for you to care about what's going on. So much more could have been done with it. But I think the fact that there's only like 4 planets in this level, did this game compared to like the 9 or 10 in other games, it's just really, really underwhelming, and you can beat it within like a day, which is what I did. Every time I play Nexus, I beat it within a day. It's just that simple, and it's that quick. So I don't really know what else to say about it. Probably the weakest villain as well, like Mr. I is this big, massive monster, and who doesn't really talk all that much. Like, they set up quite an interesting villain at the start with Vendra Prog, and but then it does nothing with her, like nothing. It's like she's not the actual bad guy, everyone. Ooh, plot twist. But I think it would have been so much more fun if they just kept the idea of that to that. Like, keep Vendra Prog the bad guy, and maybe she is trying to open the Netherverse to bring all these people here. I know that's basically what the story was anyway, but I'm saying, like, she's not under the influence of Mr. I. Like, she is the bad guy. That would have been pretty interesting. But I also do like that they made Vendra Prog kind of a redeemable villain as well. Like, I've always been a sucker for those kind of stories, a redeemable villain. But it's kind of like, at the same time, make it about her. Like, make her the antagonist, even if she does turn good in the end. Keep her that way. Like, just keep her as the main focus. Ratchet versus Vendra. Like, forget all this Netherverse shit and stuff like that. But overall, it's an okay game. Like, that's why I put it at alright. It's not quite mediocre, but yeah, it's alright. It's alright. I'm just going to put it there, right? 2 games left. We have the Ratchet and Clank Remake. Now, despite me saying, like, I don't really like the game all that much, because I don't, if I'm being real, I can't put it at mediocre because mechanically it does play really good, and graphically it is pretty good as well. So I'm just going to put it at alright. But I would definitely favour playing like Quest for Booty over the remake, because it's kind of like, I mean, come on, it's a remake. We've seen this 100 times over with games and media, movies and shit like that, where they make a remake of something, try and tell the same story again, and then it just doesn't have shit on what we had before. Like, this is basically what it is. Like, I do plan on going through the game's movie, because this is actually a game based on the movie. And that movie is also pretty terrible. There are so many story beats in it which don't work, which don't make any sense. And basically, what bothers me is that in this game, the in-game cutscenes or dialogue or whatever, they just feel so lifeless. Characters are just standing there, like, talking to each other with blank expressions on their faces. And then it goes to an actual cutscene, but the actual cutscene is part of the movie. It's like scenes from the movie. So it feels really disjointed in places, and I don't know, man. It's like, since I have so much appreciation and love for the first game, this is pretty much a fuck you to it. Like, I don't know what else to say. The only thing I do like about it is that it has pretty cool weapons, like the pixelizer is one that I like. But I also don't like how they slapped all these celebrities' names on it. Like, if you look at the front cover of the damn film, for example, in fact, you know what? I would show you, but I don't want to get up and disturb my cat. So basically, on the front cover of the film, in fact, I'll put an image right here. On the front cover of the film, it says Sylvester Stallone or Bella Thorne, blah 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 blah, Paul Giamatti and stuff like that. Okay, that's pretty cool and everything like that. A good marketing technique, I suppose. But James Arnold Taylor, David Kay, and Jim Ward, who play Ratchet, Clank, and Quark, are the main characters. I mean, are you trying to sell your movie off more by putting, like, all these celebrities in your fucking poster to say, like, oh, Sylvester Stallone's in this film, I have to watch it now, right? Bella Thorne's in this film, I have to watch it now, right? It's just... I'll dive into it a little more when I do my review on the film, but that's basically how I felt about this game. I just don't like it. It really, really, like, takes a huge turd on this original one here. And finally, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. It's obviously great. It's a great game. I really, really enjoyed Rift Apart. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about it because obviously I want my thoughts to be expressed in my review when I release it in a few weeks, hopefully. And that's basically everything so far. Yeah, that is my tier list, guys. Great. We have Ratchet and Clank 2, Ratchet and Clank 3, Ratchet and Clank A Crack in Time, and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Good. We have Ratchet and Clank and Ratchet Gladiator. Alright, we have Ratchet and Clank Tools of Destruction, Ratchet and Clank Before the Nexus, Ratchet and Clank Into the Nexus, and Ratchet and Clank the 2016 remake. Mediocre, we have Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty, and bad, we have Size Matters, Agent Clank, All for One, and Q-Force. So that is my tier list, guys. I really, really hope you enjoyed that. Now, so let me know what you thought of this down below in the comments. Like, I will probably do more tier lists like this because I had a lot of fun doing this today. It's great being back in front of the camera again. It's great interacting with people again. And yeah, this is a great way to fill in some of those gaps because there's a lot of stuff which I need to catch up on, and editing is hard. So more tier list videos could probably fill in those gaps. I really don't know. I'll figure out what I want to do. But in the meantime, everybody, thank you for watching. If you like what I do here, consider clicking that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Remember, it's not just a game, it's an experience. Take care, everyone, and have a good day.